Good morning, boys and girls. This is Mrs. Smith and this is the multiplication PowerPoint for Tuesday. Today we're going to talk a bit more about the multiplication strategies that you should already know and the tables that you already know, and just go over the strategies again so that we remember them. We have a wee look today at our learning intentions. Today we're going to identify, name and use different multiplication strategies and multiplication sums. Now we already know these strategies and we've learned about them in class. They are repeated addition, arrays, groups and partitioning and partial products. How will we learn this today? Well, we're going to read and listen to this PowerPoint with some strategies on it. Then you'll get a chance to play Hit the Button on top marks, and you can play that as many times as you like for whichever tables you think you need to practice. And then there's a mixed multiplication worksheet for you to practice your skills. Why are we learning to do this? Well, if you look at our links to the 4 capacities, we're learning to be successful learners who can identify and use strategies to help us with recall of multiplication facts and multiplication of 2 and 3 digit numbers by 1 digit. We are learning to be effective contributors by working as a class to discuss our answers, and we're going to help each other. We are also learning to be confident individuals and responsible citizens who can multiply quickly and accurately in our daily lives. How will we know we've been successful with this today? Well, our success criteria are in that last column, and it says we can accurately and quickly complete single digit multiplication using our fact recall. We can accurately and quickly complete 2 and 3 digit multiplication, deciding which strategy works best for us in different sums. And as we know, some of these strategies will be ones that we like to use, and some of these strategies will be ones that we don't prefer as much, and whichever one works for you is the one that you should use. Okay, so let's have a wee look first of all at multiplication as repeated addition and what that means. We've learned lots about this in class, but there's a few slides here just to explain it again for us. Okay, very simply, if we were talking about 2 times 4, what we see here is we've got each boy and each boy is wearing 2 shoes. Because there are 4 boys, we can add the shoes together. So we could say, well, this boy has 2 shoes, this boy has 2, so we say 2 add 2, and then another 2 add 2 on the other side there. How many times do we see the number 2? Well, if you click on the answer, as I'm sure you know, it'll say the number 4. But we can also write this sum as what? So have a wee think about it. How could we write 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2? Well, we could write it as 4 times 2 equals 8. So that's repeated addition when you look at numbers and add them together. But then you can also write it as a multiplication sum. Now this again is in the next slide. This is very simple as well. You'll know how to do this really well. Each monkey has 2 bananas. There are 6 monkeys. So if we were to do this as a repeated addition sum, we would say 2 add 2 add 2 add 2 add 2 add 2. But that takes a really long time to do, so there's a better way to write that. What is the better way to write this? So let's have a wee look at the click to reveal button down at the bottom. And it says, well, there's our addition sentence that we talked about, but also there's our multiplication sentence to make this quicker. So we could have 6 times 2 equals 12, but you know that we could also have this as a twisted twin sum, and we could change it around and have 2 times 6 equals 12. It's the same thing and we get the same answer. Okay, if you have a look at the next slide, it says each dog has 4 legs. There are 3 dogs here. How would we write this as an addition sentence? I want you to have a wee think about it before we click the answer button. Okay, if each dog has 4 legs and there are 3 dogs here, what we could do is we could have 4 add 4 equals 12. How would we write this as a multiplication sentence? Well, have a wee think about that. How would we do it? Okay, we would have 3 times 4 equals 12, but we know that equally well we could also turn this around and say 4 times 3 equals 12, and it means the same thing. Here there are 4 flowers in each vase and there are 5 vases. How would we write this as an addition sentence? I'm sure you'll know. We would write that as 4 add 4 add 4 add 4 add 4 equals 20, which is a very long sentence, but we could make that much simpler by writing it as a multiplication sentence. 5 times 4 equals 20. Okay, right. We can also have multiplication as arrays. Okay, now a lot of the time in class we don't always have to do this. A lot of us know our multiplications really well, but it's worth having a wee look at multiplication as arrays as a strategy in case it's something you'd like to be able to draw out to help you with your multiplication sums and support you with them. Well, what is an array? Just to remind you, an array is when pictures or objects are put into columns and rows, and it's called an array. They can help us to count objects a bit more efficiently. So efficiently, a bit quicker, and a bit more easily. So let's have a look at the planets. There are 3 rows and there are 5 columns. So there are 3 rows of 5 planets, which is the same as saying 3 times 5, and our answer should be, and you know it, our answer should be 15. Okay, 3 times 5. And this one is a wee bit trickier just because there are more things to count, but the way that we've grouped them should make it easier. So you don't need to count every star. For this, you could just count in 5s. We have 5 rows of 5 stars. We could say 5 times 5, or you could have used that repeated addition strategy here as well and said 5 add 5, add 5, add 5, add 5. 5 times 5 we know, if we have a wee look down, if you counted all the stars you would find that there are 25, but I'm sure you already know the fact 5 times 5 equals 25. Okay, let's have a wee look at the rocket slide. How many rockets are there here? Well, again, it looks like there are loads, but we don't need to count them all. All we could do is we can have a wee look at how these are arranged in the array. So we've got 4 rows and we've got 10 rockets in each row. Okay, and because we know that we've got 4 times 10, we can work it out really quickly and figure out that our answer here should be, that's right, it should be 40. Okay. Again here, how many planets are there? Well, there are 2 columns and each column has 8 planets in it. So if you're having a wee think, you could do this as repeated addition as well. You could do 8 add 8 and get your answer. But if you know your 2 times table really well, or your 8 times table, you would know that 2 times 8 is, yeah, that's right, 2 times 8 is 16. Okay. We can also look at multiplication as groups. Multiplication as groups, let's have a wee look at a few slides that talk a bit more about it. Okay, very simply here, we've got some muffins. We're going to say 4 times 2 because we have 4 groups, each with 2 muffins or cupcakes in them. 4 times 2, if we put those together into one large group, what do we get? We get 8. Okay, so 4 times 2 is 8. So if you were struggling with a sum at home, what you could do is you could draw yourself out your groups of items and then you could count them all. What do you think this is trying to show us here? What sum is this trying to show us? We've got 1, 2, 3 groups, and in each group we have 3 apples. Let's see, 3 times 3 equals, and it should be 9. Okay, now I know this is quite simple for a lot of us and we know these facts really well. This is just to remind us of the strategies that you could possibly use, because when you get on to doing sums like maybe 9 times 6 and you're struggling a wee bit more with it, if you wanted to, you could draw out 9 groups of 6 apples and maybe that would help you a little bit. Okay, so look at the next one. We've got ladybirds in this one, 2 groups, and each group is 5 ladybirds. So how many ladybirds do we have altogether? Well, we could count them all, but we could also say, well, if we know we have one group with 5 and another group with 5, we could say 2 lots of 5 equals 10 ladybirds. Okay, and the same with the geese here. We've got 5 groups, and in each group we have 3 geese. So the sum would be 5 times 3 equals, you could count them all together here, and if you counted them all together, your answer would be 50. Okay, Easter eggs here as well, a bit early for them, but here they are. We've got some Easter eggs and we have 6 groups. In each group we have 3 Easter eggs. So what do you think the sum here would be? That's right, it's 6 times 3, and how many should that be altogether? It should be 18. 6 times 3 is 18. Okay, again, I know that's quite a simple sum, and I know lots of you will manage really well with that, but moving forward with more difficult ones, it would be better if you can use this strategy to maybe draw them out. Okay, finishing off with the apples or oranges, I think they're oranges. We have 7 groups, 4 in each group, 7 times 4, and we end up with 20. Okay. Now this strategy is a wee bit trickier. We're looking at multiplication as partial products, and that's after partitioning a number. So we're just going to remind you about what partitioning is. And after we've reminded you what partitioning is, we're going to have a wee look at how we would use this to help us with multiplying. Okay, slightly larger numbers this time. So, if you have a number 42 and we split this into its partitioning in tens and units, we would have 40 and we would have 2. I don't know why it's missed it off of the slide there, but you'd have 40 and you'd have 2. 40 add 2 makes. If you wanted to multiply 42 times 5 mentally, you could do this first by partitioning it. So we split it into 40 and 2, and then you multiply each part by 5 separately. So 40 times 5 would give us 200, because we know 5 fours are 20, and we have to multiply that by 10 to get an answer here, so we get 200. Then we've got 2 times 5 is 10. The answer to each part there, each bit in red, is called the partial product. So we've got 200 as a partial product and 10 as a partial product. To get the answer to 42 times 5, you would just add your two partial products together. So we would add 200, add 10, and it would give us 210. Now you could check that by doing the formal method of 42 times 5. And if you were to do that, if you were to work that out, you would work out it's the same answer. It's 210. Okay, if you have a wee look at doing this with slightly more difficult numbers, if you were doing this with a 3-digit number, first of all, you would need to partition your number into 3 parts. So you'd partition it into 237, which would be 230 and 7. Okay, 230 and 7. Now, if you wanted to multiply 237 by 6 mentally, now obviously that's a hard sum, but some of you might want to challenge yourselves. You could do this by first partitioning it into 200 plus 30 plus 7. Then you could multiply each part by 6 separately. So you could have 200 by 6, 200 times 6. Well, we know 6 2s are 12, we know that one quite well. So here we would just put our 2 zeros there on the end. So it would be 1200 or 1200. 30 times 6, 6 3s are 18. We multiply it by 10, we have that 0 on the end, and it's 180. And 7 times 6 is 42. The answer to each part again is called a partial product, and to get the answer to 42 times 5, you would need to add your 3 partial products together. So you would add 1200, add 180, add 42, and it would give you 1422. Now obviously, to do that mentally, that's quite a hard thing to do. And if you want to challenge yourself, that's great. But if you find that a wee bit hard and you think, there must be an easier way to do that, well, yes, you're right, there is. We can use the formal method to do this. I'm going to show you a wee slide, just reminding you how you would use the formal method to multiply 2 or 3-digit numbers by 1 digit. Okay, what you would do is, if you wanted to multiply your 2 or your 3-digit number, you can use this formal method. You put the number at the top that you would like to multiply, and then underneath it you can put what you're multiplying by. You draw your 2 lines to make your equals, and we always start at the units. We multiply 6 times 7. Okay, 6 sevens are 42, so we put our 4 down to carry into our next column, and we put our 2 units in. Then we do 6 times 3. 6 times 3 is 18, but not remembering, we need to remember that 4 at the bottom there that we need to add on. So although 6 3s are 18, we need to remember this 4 at the bottom, which makes 22. So again, we put our 2 tens underneath the next column for the hundreds, and we put our 2 units in here. So here we've got our 2 hundreds underneath. Okay, then we're going to do 6 times 2. 6 times 2 is 12, but we must remember these 2 that are being held down here for us. So although 6 times 2 is 12, we then need to add 2, and that would make 14. And there is our sum. Okay, always remember, we need to start at the unit side and work our way towards the hundreds. Okay, so you're going the opposite way from the way that you write. Okay. Right, boys and girls, so now what we're going to do is you're going to go and try your multiplication assignment for today that you will find on Teams for you. And on that assignment there will be a link to hit the button. There will also be a worksheet for you to complete, and it has mixed multiplication on it. So it will be a mix of multiplication facts, missing number facts, and a little bit of 2 and 3 digit multiplication as well. Good luck, go ahead, have a wee go at it, and let all the teachers know how you get on with it. Have a nice day, boys and girls.